Hello, everybody. It's Abby here from Credit and Debt. Happy Wednesday. We're here for our live show, Ask Abby, and we have a real treat for everybody today. We have Jennifer Rodriguez from credit.org. She is a credit and debt and finances genius. She's got a ton of stuff to share with us today. There are a bunch of questions around right now about finances, credit, how the coronavirus pandemic is going to affect your finances, and we're going to get some answers for you today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring her on. She's going to introduce herself, and we have a ton of questions that we have for her, and hopefully we'll answer some of your questions as well. So if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment bar. And we will do our best to get to those. And if we don't get to them during the interview, we will get to them after the show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Jennifer on. And alrighty. Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Abby. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much. So I know we have a ton of questions for you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. There's so much craziness going on with coronavirus right now and all the things happening with your finances, and we have a ton of questions. But first and foremost, I just want, if you can give a little introduction of yourself and how long you've been with credit.org and what your role is, and just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Thank you. Well, my role with credit.org, I'm currently the Southern California Education and Outreach Coordinator, and I've actually been with the agency since 2005. So we're going on 15 years now. And when I originally started with credit.org, our name was Springboard, Springboard Nonprofit Credit Counseling Agency. And so when I started then, my role was counselor. And so from there, I've had several opportunities to, have different roles. And so I'm an educator now, but even as an educator, being out in the community, you're constantly in contact with people that need assistance. And so your coaching role is always, present. So you're always coaching, you're always educating, both in the community or, doing your coaching sessions with a client.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about some credit counseling, and I know that credit.org does do credit counseling. So how does the company help, and how does the coaching work?
Well, if you look at the types of services that we have, three particular types of services that we have. So we've got services related to credit. So whether it be improving your credit, understanding your credit reports, so we do credit report reviews, and improving, your credit, understanding your finances a little bit better. Then we also have how to get out of debt. So if you're currently in debt and you're looking for options to be able to pay off your debt, we also do have debt management plans, so and coaching as well. So those are the three things we pretty much cover, but those are a lot of services.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like just full coverage as far as your finances go, which is really needed right now. People have questions about every aspect of their finances. Awesome. So how does it work if you want to get credit coaching or mortgage coaching? Exactly how does that process go from start to finish if you want to talk to credit.org?
Well, you could definitely give us a call, go to our website and get our information there, which is credit.org, just as, our name, credit.org. And when you call in, you could let us know, what you're looking to do, what your financial goal is. And from there, we could find, a specific coach that could help you with whatever your specific need is. And so the counseling session, what I will say, or the coaching session, you will get to help us understand what your financial condition is. And I think in a sense, the client will also be able to better understand what their finances are like, because we go through a budget. And so a lot of us can say we have budgets, but at the same time, a budget could be something we have in our heads. Like, we know how much money we have coming in. We have an idea of how many, what our expenses are going out. But that's not really a budget. So knowing exactly what comes in, what your monthly expenses are like, I think that's the core of the coaching itself, because you get to understand what you're doing with your money, what your current financial condition is, and what power you actually have to be able to manage your finances, maybe reduce your expenses. And then that helps us as coaches also be able to then look for options to help you get to that, that financial goal that you want to have, whether it be improving your credit, getting out of debt, purchasing a home, whatever the case is, we can get you there. But that's the core of everything.
That's awesome. So it sounds like it's something that's pretty high demand right now, probably with unemployment being a huge problem and people being furloughed. So taking a good hard look at your budget is probably something huge right now. So my question is, in regards to the current situation with the coronavirus pandemic, are people calling for help about that? Have you seen an influx in people calling about coronavirus with changes in their budgets or their finances? Are they calling you more?
We definitely have seen a spike in need of assistance, and we have been getting questions in regards to mortgage forbearance or any type of government relief. And I think like one of the things that you mentioned right now is a reduction of income, whether it be because someone in the household lost their employment, or there's just not enough income to be able to take care of now having the whole family home, because of food expenses now being, increased, or now you have to have certain things for your children to be at home, while you're also trying to work at home, whether it be, purchasing a laptop or increasing your bandwidth on your internet, whatever it is, you might have more expenses now as well. So we've had those questions. I think, yes, the most common one is reduction of income. And then the second one I would say is managing your current obligations, financial obligations. So not falling behind on your debt, not falling behind on your mortgage, keeping up with your payments. Some clients may call in that have not fallen delinquent just yet and are trying to be a little proactive. Some of them have missed a payment or so. So those types of individuals, when they start asking for assistance and calling our agency, I think that's the best thing they could do, from basically step one. And then working with their creditors and working with their servicers, that's going to be very important as well, because they need to understand also what the client's financial condition is at this time to then be able to offer assistance to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In our first show, we talked a lot about how so many different creditors have options right now if you are having issues paying your bills. So talking to your creditors is huge. Another thing that we were talking about last week is how many scams are out there and there's fraud going around because people are just a little bit more vulnerable, and that gives a good opportunity, unfortunately, for hackers and scammers. So I know that annualcreditreport.com is offering you free credit reports weekly instead of just yearly like they used to do. So my question is how often should we all be checking our credit reports?
That's a really great question, because generally what we recommend is at least once every 12 months, so once a year, right? The right that we have as consumers is to be able to have access to our credit information, and you could receive or you could request your credit reports through annualcreditreport.com, and just to make sure you look at your credit not just from one agency, you want to look at all three, to make sure that all of the information is correct. Times have changed, and times are literally changing like as we speak, right? So being able to be on top of your credit is very important. If you have the opportunity to check once a week, then go ahead and do that. The type of fraud right now is basically a lot of like phishing, for example. You might get some emails or maybe even a text message or something that says, hey, we have access to helping you with your late payments or your mortgage, or we have some type of, COVID-19 relief, assets or whatever it is. So you really want to be careful not to click on anything you didn't request, you didn't ask for, something that looks a little odd. If you start getting maybe even text messages from your bank saying, we've noticed some suspicious activity, definitely go ahead and contact your bank, but make sure that you don't contact them through that specific link that was being sent to you. go onto their website or get the phone number directly from your statement and call them through there to make sure that everything's okay. And definitely check your credit reports to make sure that you don't have any other persons trying to have access to your report and open credit in your name.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that last week, and even I was targeted for a scam.
Wow.
So it's just super important to be very cautious about any links you're clicking in your emails. And if you guys missed last week's show, go back and watch it, share it with your friends and family. It's huge right now that everybody's just very aware of what's going on. And the more we talk about it, the less likely it is to happen. So in regards to credit reports, I know, so you can go on annual credit report, and you can get your full credit report there, but there are all these tools out there that allow you to see your credit score and even some of your accounts. So what's the big difference between looking at your credit report and some of those tools? What do you see differently there?
Very good question. So if you are requesting the information directly from the credit bureaus, you're basically getting a snapshot of what your information is, excuse me, at that time. Now, a lot of lenders or your banks, servicers, they may also offer a type of credit monitoring service. There are apps out there that you will have access to. You could have access to your credit report. Some of those information is a little delayed. For example, I know there's one credit tool app that is delayed about 2 weeks. So the information you're getting is a little late. It's not what you are currently seeing on your credit report. So I think if you're really looking for accuracy, you're better off just getting the information directly through the reporting sources, which would be the credit bureaus.
Okay, that makes sense. And so then let's say you are late for one of your payments and that's showing on your credit report. But I've actually heard that being late on one of your payments aren't strikes on your credit report during the COVID-19 crisis. Is that true?
Very good question. So when it comes to the CARE Act, they have actually included a section related to the credit impact during the COVID-19 crisis. And individuals are encouraged to still go through their creditor or their servicer and let them know the type of impact that they've had with COVID-19. And, if that's the reason why they're not able to make their payments, once they let the creditor or the lender know, then that will not negatively affect them on their credit report, because of course the servicer or the lender, they're the ones that actually report to the credit bureaus. And so you have to let them know. Now, another thing too is that they may have options to do a forbearance plan to where they, you don't have to make your payments, or you can, you could make them a little bit later on. Whatever type of plan or program they are helping you with, make sure that you ask questions in regards to how that amount is going to be paid back. Is it going to be something that's going to be dispersed, in the next couple of months? Is it going to be a one lump sum that you have to bring current? So you have to kind of know, everything that goes with that forbearance to then not, protect your credit now, but then because you didn't know the full details of how everything gets paid back, it'll affect your credit later. So you want to ask about everything, how the payback program or system would be, and then just go from there. But you have to speak with your servicer.
Awesome. And yeah, just asking them questions, because I've heard a couple different things that you have to pay back the lump sum at the end of forbearance, and I've heard that you have to pay back the lump sum at the end of the loan. So just knowing what is expected is probably huge, and you can just ask them, right?
Right.
Perfect. So with all that going on, I mean, I'm sure that people are calling in with a multitude of problems. How tough is that? How are people reacting to all that's going on? You guys act as almost like financial first responders in this right now. And I'm sure sometimes it's not easy on either side of the phone.
Right. I mean, anytime you know that someone's having a difficult time, it's always going to, it's always going to be difficult. I don't know anyone that says, oh, I'm so, happy you're going through this. No, not at all. I think, especially because we're all going through it, we all really understand, what's happening right now. And so it's very difficult for someone to take that first step to give us a call, and we understand that too. But I think one of the biggest things that we need to remember is that when you're looking at financial hardship, regardless of whatever the situation is, that can take a toll on your health. It can also take a toll on your, emotional health as well. So everything's very related. So if you're not doing well emotionally, maybe you're not performing as well, and you're not, you're now affecting your finances. And so everything just goes with each other. And so I think during the coaching session, it's a very holistic approach, and we understand that we're there to help. And just knowing that we can sit there and listen to a person. I think listening is very important, because it's not just the client letting us know what the hardship is, getting the numbers and the figures to be able to figure out what options are available. It comes down to even listening to the subtle things, like the tone of a voice of a person, the words they're using. That'll let us know how that person's really feeling. And we relate, and we take everything into consideration when we're looking at the coaching sessions, because it's all very important to us, right? Knowing exactly how to connect and build that rapport with people, and letting them know that we're here because we care and we're trying to help, is very important. I think that's the biggest thing to a coaching session. And then from there, getting all the information, being honest, the clients being honest with themselves, and not being ashamed of sharing that information with us, because that's going to put us in their shoes, and then help us better understand what they're going through, to see what we can do in regards to types of options or programs, or speaking directly with their creditor or their servicer to be able to help. I know we always say, hey, talk to your servicer, talk to your creditor, but sometimes you're thinking, I'm going to call and I'm going to say what? Like, I don't know exactly how to let them know what type of assistance I need. And so even when it comes down to that, your point of contact, would be your credit counselor or your housing counselor. And you can talk to them, and they can talk and work with your creditor and your servicer on your behalf. And of course, everyone's on the phone together, and we're all working, to work something out. But if you feel like you need that type of guidance and assistance, we could definitely do that.
That's awesome. And it probably takes a lot of pressure off of people. I know that debt is a commonality. It's a common problem or a situation for a lot of people, even before this coronavirus pandemic. So with all the different, with people going through unemployment and reduced income, what are some things that people can just keep at the top of their mind for their budgeting right now? Calling you guys, of course, is a great idea, but maybe you're not quite there yet. What are just some high-level things people can be thinking about for their budgets?
Well, so just like I mentioned before, just having a budget, right? That's definitely important. Knowing how much money you have in the household right now to be able to work with your expenses, and knowing exactly the type of expenses you have. And then just asking yourself, do I really need to, pay for my gym membership right now? We can't go. For example, I received an email from my gym saying, hey, we're not going to charge you for the next couple of months. Now, I don't know what's going to happen the next couple of months, and I just know that for now I'm not using that service. So I still requested to cancel it, even though they sent me an email letting me know that they weren't going to charge me for the services. So I just canceled them. So anything you can cancel, anything you can do without, definitely go ahead and cancel those services now. Go back on your budget and then review to see if maybe there's anything you could cut back on, any reductions you can make, right? That's very important too. Now, if you have any credit cards, and now you're thinking, okay, well, that's a part of my budget too, because it's an expense that has to be paid every single month. Talk to your creditors and see if you can work with them, right? So we talked about the forbearance. So that will then at least, take off a little bit of pressure regarding your current monthly financial expenses. And then maybe that will then allow you to better prepare for the next month. Now, again, because we don't know exactly what's happening month to month, don't be afraid to go back every 2 weeks or every month if you need to check your budget. Generally, we recommend that you check your budget or you review your budget anytime you have any type of financial changes. So if you were able to if you're unemployed and you were able to find employment, then definitely go back and redo your budget, because now there's income in the household. Or if you were able to reduce some of your expenses and go ahead and, revisit your budget again. But at this time, if there are any types of programs that are able to help you, and you're constantly working with your creditors, and you're able to make these ongoing changes with your budget, then yeah, you can constantly review and make adjustments.
Yeah, definitely. And so if we're talking about budgeting, and let's say you're going through your budget and you do have some debt that you're dealing with, and you have to make those payments, or you would still like to be making those payments outside of the forbearance options, what kind of mistakes can people be aware of for debt management, and how do you guys usually suggest that people handle that?
For debt management, well, first of all, if you feel that you are going to be falling behind on your payments, then definitely, contact your creditors or contact a credit counseling agency. If you're currently in a debt management plan where you're managing your payments and you're fulfilling your debt obligations, but you feel like you're not going to be able to continue with those payments because of, maybe a disruption of income that you've had because of COVID, still have that open communication. So contact a credit counseling agency, whoever you're working with already, to be able to help you with that. Now, the biggest mistakes that I do see is people feel ashamed when they're not able to pay for their, make their monthly bills. And so I think that alone makes them feel like I can't reach out to my creditor or to a credit counseling agency. And one of the things that I've seen is they feel a little bit more comfortable when they hear that someone in the family knows someone that got their credit, fixed, or their debt taken care of by a party that no one knows about. And they pay these people up front, to be able to wipe out their debt. And it all turns out to be fraud. I remember I did a workshop out in the LA area. And as soon as I drove out of the place, there was a light post, and on the post it said, have debt, need your credit fixed, call here. And so a lot of the times we get to hear from people that unfortunately have already been taken advantage of. And so knowing, even if you're doing okay right now, knowing where you can go to get the right type of assistance is very important. So don't feel too comfortable if someone says, I know someone. No, go and do some research. You can go to the to HUD.gov. The CFPB has a lot of really great resources. A certified credit counseling agency for sure, but get the good assistance, good sources.
Yeah, and like you said, there's unfortunately people have this layer of shame when they're talking about debt, but once they get on the phone with you, it's not about the shame, because you guys deal with that every day. You're empowering these people and helping build their trust, and really giving them the ability to take back control of their finances. So, those are some unfortunate stories of people being targeted by fraud, but do you have any of some great customer experiences that you can share with us about how your counseling agency has been able to help people with their debt and their credit?
We have a lot.
Well, that's great.
I personally have had some really great clients, some really great stories. I remember working with a Navy vet, and this individual, he had gone through a lot, and it was to the point where he didn't have housing, he didn't have employment, and he was just going through a really, really rough time. And I remember when I started working with him, I started giving him some guidance as to, what he can do to find employment, to be able to build a resume with the experience he did have, and almost not just build a resume, build his confidence up, because he had a lot going for him. It's just, it took a while to understand and see it. And then going through the finances, he didn't have any type of credit established at all. And so helping him establish credit, that was also very important. And so I remember I had been meeting with him a few times to help him. And one of the things that was very odd to me is that every time I met with him, his condition was pretty much the same. It hadn't changed much, And so I go over the whole thing again, and I would ask, what are the challenges? What's happening? no, I just couldn't do it. So there was always, I don't want to say an excuse, but there was a reason behind it, right? And so I just kind of kept at it. And then again, he would make an appointment to see me, and, the situation wasn't changing much. So I had been working with him, I would say, for maybe about a year and a half or so. And I finally told him, and I said, you know what, I know we've gone through the session before. I've reviewed everything with you. I've given you the resources. Like, is there something that I'm not understanding? Because I don't see any improvement. And he told me, and he said, I don't have family and I don't have friends, and you're the only person I can talk to. And this is why he continued to make these appointments. I'm going to get teary-eyed. But this is why he continued to make these appointments. And I told him, I care, and I want you to care too. So show me you care, And so from that heart to heart that we had, oh my gosh, it was a complete change, and he was able to find employment, and then he was able to get housing. And I remember I was walking to my office one day, and I see him running down the street towards me. That was the weirdest thing ever. And he pulls out this thing from his wallet, and he starts waving it around. And then he tells me, he's like, I finally got my secured credit card, which is one of the recommendations I had given him so he could start establishing credit. And I was so happy for him. So from there, I was, I taught him how to use his credit. I taught him how not to get into debt. And he did really, really well. I worked with him for a little bit over 2 years, and he got his score up into the high 600s. And that was the only card he had. And so from there, he just started building his credit. He did really, really well. But that's kind of what I was talking about when it comes to really connecting with the client and understanding their situation. The whole listening part is very important. And I think we really did have like this breakthrough moment when I asked him, like, I don't get it. Like, I wanted him to kind of understand me, that he didn't understand why, he just wasn't improving. And so I think that's kind of what did it. And from there, he did really, really well. So I think that's one of my happiest stories ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody's excited to see you and they're running down the street, that's gotta show you that you guys are doing the right thing.
That was really nice.
Yeah, that's so sweet. So my last question, since we're running short on time, is what do you have to say to people who might be uncertain right now, or unsure about their finances, or maybe they had debt before this coronavirus pandemic, and now they've also lost their job, and like you talked about that shame, and they might be on the edge of calling for help, calling a credit coach for help. What would you say to that person, and how can you guys help them?
Right. So I think one of the things is definitely just kind of pausing and figuring out, what is my biggest struggle right now, and what can I do? If it's managing your debt, like you mentioned, right? Going to a certified credit counseling agency is the best option for someone, because it's you get the coaching piece, understanding your finances. When I was talking about the budget component, looking at what options, and this isn't just like what credit options you have. I mean, we literally look at everything. What does your housing look like? What does your debt look like? What are your current expenses like? So we really want to fully understand everything in regards to financially how the client is being impacted, and finding the best options for that client. So definitely reaching out to a credit counseling agency for assistance is definitely, one of the big things. Whether they feel like they're going to fall behind on any debts that they already have, or if they're already behind, still go ahead and look for that help. When it comes to mortgages as well, and you don't want to lose your home, a credit counseling agency can help with that as well. So that's very important too.
Yeah, definitely. So Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know that we had a ton of questions. I have a ton more. So great. I hope we get to see you again. And anybody, if you have questions, make sure you put them in the comment box, and we will get to them shortly after we sign off here. But if you know anybody who might benefit from credit counseling, please share this video. It's huge. It's, it's free to call a credit coach. There's no reason you should be going through this on your own, and there's no shame in calling. Get control of your finances and really just get the help that you might need right now. People are all in the same sort of situation. So make sure you guys call, share the video, follow us on Facebook, and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered. So Jennifer, thank you again. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.